It's the year 2019. Still fresh off the hype of the Infinity War, Avengers Endgame is set to come out the last weekend of April. Hype is high. The entire world is buzzing about what will happen next, and then it happens. Endgame took the cinema world by storm, raking in nearly $3 billion and almost toppling a decade-old record for ticket sales, which was set by Avatar back in 2009. The world both rejoiced and wept, as the heroes we'd come to know over the last couple of years were able to overcome Thanos and his army, but at the cost of a life that started it all. It was a simple time for movie fans, where we all joined hands and celebrated what, at the time, was one of the greatest era of movies in our lifetime. Fast forward to 2024, and those billion-dollar profits are long gone, and they've been replaced by loss, with fans striking out, labeling one another with every nasty social buzzword they can. So, what happened? How do we go from Infinity War and Endgame to The Marvels and Madam Web? Is it superhero fatigue, or is it bad movie fatigue? Let's talk about it. What's going on, Toller team? And today we're going to be talking a little bit of a dive. Not too much of a deep dive, because I could go on about this stuff for a half hour, but I think I've reduced it down enough to get my point across. But we're going to talk about one of the most popular topics going on in cinema right now, and that's superhero films. But before we get into that, I want to thank you guys for all your support. I really appreciate all the views, the shares, the comments, the likes, all of it, guys. I really do appreciate it. I'm trying to hit 3K subscribers by the end of 2024, and the only way I'm going to do that is with your guys' help. So if you're new around here, hey, hi, welcome to the team. My name is Toller Talks, and I really like movies, and I just want to talk about them. And yeah, that's really it. So if you like what you see, let me subscribe, hit the like button. As a matter of fact, comment down below what your favorite superhero film of the last 10 years has been. Last 10 years, because that's kind of what we're going to be talking about here. So if you're like a really big Dark Knight fan, doesn't count. Last 10 years. But anyway, superhero films. Is it about superhero fatigue, or is it just about bad filmmaking? Let's get into it. So what makes a good superhero film? A cool hero, a mission, good CGI? Yeah, if you're going to break it down Barney style like that, but creating a good superhero film is a lot more complex than just writing out a comic book sentence by sentence. You need a character that's larger than life, with obstacles and goals that we, the audience, can watch as they overcome and proceed beyond them. Take Iron Man 2008, for instance. Robert Downey Jr. burst back onto the acting scene portraying a fan favorite billionaire philanthropist, Tony Stark. We saw Tony struggle, not only with his own ego, but with alcoholism. He was cynical, self-indulgent, and pompous, all leading up to a fateful event in the Middle East where he was abducted by the very terrorist he was inadvertently arming. Tony came back a new man, wanting to spread peace instead of violence, even against the will of the company's board members, and that's when he decided he would become Iron Man. But becoming Iron Man wasn't easy either, was it? There were trials, tests, and crash after crash after crash, something that pushed Tony's body to its limits, but in the end, he came out as the pioneer of the MCU as we know it, and became the poster boy for superheroes moving forward. We knew Tony because we grew alongside him and understood his problems. He was human, and we loved him that much more for it. And to make things even better, Downey Jr. was just as charismatic off-screen as he was on-screen, making him not only beloved as a hero, but as an actor in front of the entire world. Fast forward to 2019, and we're introduced to Captain Marvel, who's supposed to be the new face of the MCU, and this character is played by Brie Larson. And ironically, the character's first solo outing, first film, was coincidentally sandwiched in between Infinity War and Endgame. Captain Marvel also took the world by storm, but not for the same reasons Iron Man did. The lead actress, Brie Larson, was lambasted by the majority of the comic book audience for her inflammatory racist comments towards white men while receiving an award for A Wrinkle in Time. This charisma vacuum translated to what we saw on screen too. Captain Marvel herself, who was a gender swap version of the character in the first place, didn't have trials and tribulations. She didn't have obstacles. She was perfect from the very beginning, an all-encompassing, all-powerful girl boss that didn't need to struggle or grow. And that's where the troubles in the superhero genre began. You see, the audience likes to superimpose themselves onto the characters that they see on the screen, right? So you've got Iron Man, and that 8-year-old little boy that is seeing Iron Man on the screen, not only does Iron Man have really cool powers and a really cool set of armor, but he's a man, a symbol that this boy hopes to grow up and be, because Tony Stark is a man with problems. He's a man that has to conquer his own issues. He's just like us in that he has problems, troubles, tribulations, whatever you want to call it, that he has to overcome just like the everyday person. The same can be said about little girls and Wonder Woman. Say what you want to about Zack Snyder and his Snyderverse, but Gal Gadot's performance as Wonder Woman was one that perfectly embodied the character. She was strong, beautiful, and above all else, she was able to connect with the audience on an emotional level. She was a 6-foot-tall, brilliant badass of an Amazonian who still found love in the oddest of places, and it made her weak at certain portions of the film, which is something anyone who's been in love can relate to. So is that what superhero films need? Well, yeah, it's never been about the cape or the mask or the powers when it comes down to superheroes. It's always been about the person underneath all of that. Superman's most interesting characteristic isn't the fact that he can fly. It isn't his heat ray vision or being able to freeze things with his breath. It's his moral code, living within the boundaries of a world he can very easily crush and trying to be a normal man that lives his day-to-day life as one of us. Compare that to the bleak, emotionless, bottomless pit that was Madame Web, and you'll quickly see why that movie flopped harder than I do after 30 Rock of Pittsburgh's finest. So, is it superhero fatigue or is it bad movie fatigue? It's a mixture of both, but the primary driver behind the downfall of this genre is bad writing and surplus of content. Look at what Disney has done. In order to like a movie or to fully understand what's going on in a film, you've got to watch 2 seasons, 37 episodes of a show on Disney Plus, and then see a couple of films that came before that just to have an idea of what the hell was going on. So not only do you have bad writing and bad characters and bad actors playing those bad characters, but you've got to walk in seeing all this other stuff just to make sense of what you're seeing at the movie theater. Look no further than the Marvels. Because if you didn't watch, I know it was the Miss Marvel show, and there was a couple other things. If you didn't watch those things, you were missing a whole lot of context, and that really drugged down the movie theater experience. But it's not all rain and dismay. Films like Guardians 3 and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse had massive box office hauls last year, the latter being more successful, but nonetheless, both films were very, very successful. This year, well, we're not off to a hot start with Madame Web, but the hype surrounding Deadpool 3 is very much alive, followed by Kraven the Hunter and potentially Venom 3. So can these films get back to what they were doing before? All the way back to step 1, where all they were doing was making us fall in love with these characters, because that's what made those original Avengers films so damn good. Who knows? I mean, Deadpool 3, Ryan Reynolds, it's hard not to love him, so, I think we're all going to like that one. Anyway, if you guys agree or disagree with me, let me know. Do you think that really is just bad movies, if we get back to quality writing and quality characters, that this genre can continue to build? Or do you think it's just doomed from this point forward? We're in too big of a hole and we can't climb out of it. I appreciate y'all for checking out my video. Talk to y'all later.